I'm not sure. Uh, that's a solution. But it's still
Pretty good. How about you? I saved that. Yes, okay. Oh, we use right here. Okay, do that. We're curious. Just why there's been a decrease this year. You're just
She can just like step out of a chair. Like, she doesn't even sit in front. It's kind of just blurring the lines as if we should be up there. I feel like it should be set.
You just don't see. Well, okay.
Well, all of them.
Are you? You just think it needs to chair Last year it was
Last
just,
year.
No, he did not.
it was just that Ryan. I'm fine with the third person. I think we just need to I just think 3 minutes. Like there doesn't need to be a full Sorry. I am. Oh yeah. Yeah, we should. Thank you.
What's up, madam? How much butter do you want for the bread? Region.
Here.
I'd have a third of these. No, the who's this? Hey, I just Harley. Like, you know, this is really good. A lot of peasant food is they're avant-garde and paella, Lenten paella. It's from the Moriscos. It's right from the Spanish Inquisition. When the Spanish took over and kicked out all the Muslims and Jewish people, the people that were left behind that like forcefully converted to Catholicism and Mauricio. Well, it's funny because there were reports from like the early 1900s, like people say, "Oh, my grandmother did these very rich things," and then like still practicing. Anyway, that's a separate. That peasantry along the Valencian region did not have access to lots of things. They took a bunch of rice, shrimp, clam, mixed it all together into a pot. And they ate that every single day. And the rich people. And then tourism increased, and everyone was like, "Wait a minute, this food's like actually pretty fire." And then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we all eat that." It's like, yeah, and lobster.
I literally had to walk
Yeah.
after my class.
Oh yeah, like the whole like yep, sushi. Nowadays, sashimi is like a omakase. But the reason for preservation, poor people couldn't have it. I had to. And with kimchi, rich people didn't eat that. Fermentation is for poor people. You know, you get much higher density of microbiome. Heals low rich people. Yeah. Louis the 14th. I mean, in the Middle East, for sure.
Senators, attendance, by the way, that'd be great if you fill that out in the Teams channel. Thank you.
Okay. Great challenge, great responsibility.
No. Yeah, because I don't know.
No, the student senators should have. Did you? Yeah, we go. Makeup. I have a good thing going right now. Working out well.
I went through everyone and everything yesterday. So they have a problem.
I gotta be bigger. Joe Kevin gets a really good spot. What prompted you to post this? No, they didn't think I was on.
Oh, I'll settle that.
Good evening, everyone. The Students' Assembly is called to order for Legislative Cycle 4. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from Cycle 3. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? See one from Ola. Do I have a second? I see a second from the Student Body Vice President. Thank you. We will get that poll posted to the Students' Assembly voting channel. If you are not already in the voting channel and you have voting rights in the Students' Assembly, please come to the front during the poll time and we will get you added. Also, please remember to fill out the attendance poll. We've had some issues in Studex where people weren't being counted as having attended meetings just because they forgot to fill out the poll. Ready? Okay. The minutes approval poll is live now. This will be a 2-minute vote.
Got an album too, if you want it. Only if you get the little cinnamon thing.
There's space up at the front.
We don't have to. You want to know?
I don't know. Ask Panera Bread. I'll probably. Maleficent? Yeah. You get it much Me, only me and the Panera person. Listen, I've got about 1,400 calories, 76 grams of protein, plus a protein shake right now. Megan, would you like an apple? I have a sandwich as well, but I'm not sharing. I have a protein shake if you. No, I'm not sharing it.
It's also funny that Bill Self.
That's what they all say.
For the same height.
Yeah, you can't waste food.
Thank you, everyone. With 38 votes in favor, 0 votes against, and 3 people abstaining, the minutes from cycle 3 are approved. We'll go on to the next item of the agenda, which is our guest speakers for tonight. Please welcome Sarah Waters, the Executive Director of KU Housing and Residence Life. As we go through these 2 guest presentations, please note that the rate proposal drafts are in the Teams folders under presentation files, so you all can read them. Also, I would like to ask you to please close your laptops so that we can show respect to our guest speakers for tonight. How much time would you
Not much.
like? 10?
I don't need 10 to
Okay.
do my initial piece. No, 5 at most.
Okay.
We have to take as long as you all want to do questions.
All right, start when you are ready.
All right, thank you, Chris. Thank you. My name, as Chris said, is Sarah Waters. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director of Housing and Residence Life. Also here tonight to speak will be some of the Memorial Union teams for Jack Credo, who wasn't able to be here. So they'll come up next to present dining. But as an auxiliary, I know many of you are familiar with this because you've been in this space before. But annually, our office, as well as the dining, as part of the Memorial Unions, has to propose our room rates for FY26. So it is for FY26. So we're talking about next fiscal year at this point. We have to get these over to the Kansas Board of Regents for their November meeting. And so our materials are due to the Chancellor's office by next week. They then go to K-Board. They are reviewed for the first time in November with lots of Q&A from all of the regents, as well as the other K-Board schools are there. And then final vote on housing and dining rates happens at the at the December Board of Regents meeting. So what I'm here to do is just to briefly go over my housing rate proposal. Housing has over 40 different room types. I know many of you have probably lived in student housing at some point, but from traditional residence halls to scholarship halls to apartments. This year, we're housing over 6,000 students in on-campus living, in part because we have master lease space and nearby communities in order to meet the demand of the largest now freshman class after the second largest last year, which has been phenomenal and also caused us some strains. My overall rate proposal this year at every room type is somewhere between 2 to 5%. And then I do have a 6% rate increase for transitional housing, which we do very little of now because we've given almost all of our spaces at Sunflower, as well as some other transition spaces that we used to use for faculty and visiting faculty, and then some transitioning to KU staff over to students because you all are a priority. So by room type, every single one of those is on the handout that Chris referenced is in your Teams file. I've already been in front of the All Scholarship Hall Council in order to present the rates to them for the scholarship halls, as well as their meal plans. They did have a unanimous vote that they understood the proposal and the reasons why. Housing as an auxiliary, we have about $53 million in room revenue. Also, That includes camp and conference revenue that we bring in annually. And then we have to make all of our expenses from that. And so anything that we do in housing facilities, from paying our staff to paying our utility bills to painting to anything that you see inside a housing building, is paid for by those funds. We get no student fees. We get no money from the state. And so in proposing these rates, part of the rationale this year is, of course, to make all of our bills, make all of our expenses. But we also have right now over $6 million in capital improvements planned for this coming summer. That will include the kickoff of the Lewis renovation, which we did delay by 1 year, as well as updating the Lewis fire alarm systems. That's about a $5 million project all in. This coming summer, we'll also be updating the Ellsworth elevators. It's time. And so that's a $1.5 million project. For context, about $500,000 per elevator in that high rise. We're also currently assessing the rest of our needs in all of our facilities. We know we need some furniture replacement, but we've got about a $2 million placeholder in as well then for other additional improvements, and we're working closely with facility planning. Those are my big picture updates. I know dining will need to also share their rationale, so I'd be happy to turn it over to them to talk about their proposal, and then we, I believe, can take questions after, if that works for you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will hear from the management. We will hear from the management of the KU Memorial Unions for the dining rate proposals. And then if anyone has questions, we will have both groups of guest speakers together.
Okay, Lindsay Robinson, not Jack Credo, Director of Dining. I won't echo everything that she started off with and having to present it to the Board of Regents. We do it simultaneously.
Would you like to, the PowerPoint file is one back on the tabs.
There we go. There we are. I also have hard copies of these, but I know they're in your teams as well, already mentioned. But we're just going to kind of start over on the left side. Our proposal is a 5% increase. And it's kind of broken down here where we have our All Access plan, which is unlimited meals at any all-you-care-to-eat facility for $2,450. And then we have our 14 meal plan broken down to 14 meals a week. And then our 10 meal plan, which is broken down to 10 meals a week. And then we'll continue with our 440 plan designed for our off-campus students. In addition to all these plans, we're also wanting to offer guests for 5 guest passes for family and friends. You'll see broken down right here in comparison kind of to what we're doing this year of the number of plans that we'll sell. And for that price, we're asking for about an average of 5%. You'll also see on the right side of the screen here, the dining plans, kind of a comparison chart to see where we're at. At one point in, I believe it was the 2019-2020 era, we did not ask for an increase. We actually requested a decrease in 2020, so we've fallen behind. So you'll see here, when we get the 5% increase, we will still be behind an average Big 12 schools and all of our in-state schools. You asked why for that increase. Right there, we're going to face a 3.5% increase in cost of goods sold. We're also going to face a 3.5% increase in labor. As far as the cost of goods increase, we'll need to continue to be able to purchase quality product to be able to create quality food. That's been a huge focus of ours over to the summer, is to get our residential halls up to current standards and current trends and food trends. The increase in labor is just needing to stay competitive and have a competitive wage to be able to recruit and retain a culinary talent to continue to progress in university dining. We are currently building our culinary team in residential dining. We want to be able to do that across the campus with retail and residential. There's also our emerging capital expenditures. Just this year, we were able to upgrade underground and studio, which you may know, that hasn't happened in quite some time. So we're able to make some upgrades there in order to put in our depreciation for fiscal year 26. In order to continue these upgrades and have these inviting spaces, this increase is necessary. There's also the need for new dishwashers here in fiscal year 26, 27. And just in general, our 5-year plan that we've come up with for our capital expenditures. Storage rooms that will need to be updated and maintained to create a healthy work environment or maintain our healthy work environment. Those are going to be our top 3. Then we have to do the execution of the Kansas Union renovations. We have some internal plumbing, HVAC, and all of that. Then we also have cosmetics, and the KU Dining is going to contribute a lot to the cosmetics of making the Memorial Union more modern, as well as updating those spaces and be inviting. And lastly, you'll see here, number 5, the ability to meet the university's contingency reserve policy. It's university requirement to have a reserve of $4.5 million minimum in case we go into a catastrophic event. The Memorial Union prepare for that. But yeah, that's kind of the proposal that we have. We've gotten some support and approval beyond the provost. So that's my presentation for you today. Appreciate it.
And if you would both remain at the podium, we will go into questions. Questions can be about either proposal for the housing rates or the dining rates. If I could, if I could really quick tinker with the podium PC. We'll pull up the full rate proposals. And this is everything. We'll get this a bit larger. All right. Now, can I please get hands in the air for questions? Student Body Vice President.
I had a question for Ms. Waters. So you had mentioned some of the internal renovations that'll be taking place in the residence halls. Are there any plans for external renovations such as like for Ellsworth, Templin, Hashinger, to name a few?
So in terms of external renovations, are you thinking about paint? I mean, we've already done roofs.
Mainly like a pressure wash.
Yeah, no, okay, I'm with you now. We don't currently have pressure washing of the exterior of any of those buildings in our current budget for this coming fiscal year. We have a study going on right now of the envelope of all the buildings that is going to include a tuck pointing report, and what that is the mortar on the bricks, as well as all of the caulking around the windows. We are doing that in the scholarship halls. We actually are currently working on 6 of the older scholarship halls. So we are doing caulking. We are doing some tuck pointing there. But the bigger residence halls, no, we don't currently have that budgeted. It's going to be significant, clearly. The staining on the areas underneath all the windows, especially on the Templin side, that west side facing looks pretty rough.
Is that something that could be a room for improvement with like future financing?
Yeah, it absolutely needs to be looked at. While the staining is concerning to me, the bigger concern for me is cracking in the mortar, which is why doing a full tuck pointing report is really critical for those Daisy Hill halls especially, but it also includes GSP. I would anticipate a building like Ellsworth to tuck point, knowing as tall as it is easily a $2 million investment. And so we probably will be working that into the plan over the next 5 years. Yeah.
Community Affairs Director.
Hi, my name is Olakunle. I'm the Community Affairs Director. Thank you for your presentation. And my question is, what is housing doing for sustainability? Because part of the platform the student body president and vice president run against is like sustainability around campus. And I've met with directors of sustainability and recycling, and they kind of gave me a report about how everything is going. And they said housing is not currently with the university, but I'm not sure about it. So
I'm not sure who you've met with. So regarding sustainability, we actually use centralized services for that. And centralized services ended recycling, I believe, last calendar year, last fiscal year, maybe. And so that also meant it ended inside housing facilities because that's a centralized service that we pay them for. And so we would be interested in bringing that back. But my understanding from centralized services is there's greater concerns about contamination in the recycling. We do continue to recycle cardboard. So that is something that our custodial staff works really hard to take all cardboard. And in the scholarship hall community, I know that they're working, they compost significantly down there as part of their food management program. And so that would be my response to your question.
Further questions? Community Affairs Director, follow-up.
So my question for Union Services is just I went to GSP the other day and the food was really great on Sunday, especially the buffet. If you don't know about it, you should check it out. And I just want to know what you guys plan for creating more diverse food on campus.
I'm glad you asked that, actually. That's part of building our culinary team. So that's our step one. And then we're also hosting World at Your Table this year. We've started hosting it once a month. And next semester and next year, we're going to continue to try to host it twice a month, or at least once weekly, to more incorporate a lot of more diverse dining, some ethnic foods, some groups that we're going to work with on campus. And then we're also, further that is going to start incorporating it into our catering guides and catering events.
The Vice Chair of Student Rights and Affairs.
Hi, my name is Summer. It's actually going to be about that last part in terms of like access to halal food. I was just wondering if you could expand on that in terms of like, what would that look like logistically, and how do you anticipate that to work into your budget? Like, is it going to be an expected like increase in terms of like having to find good vendors? Could you just elaborate on that a little bit more, please?
You nailed it. That's our biggest challenge right now is finding vendors. We do have halal offerings over at South. We have increased a couple menu items that we can control this year. We've also incorporated some halal options into our fresh grab and go line that our catering department prepares. I do have a procurement manager that we recently hired it was pretty much over the summer. And she's going to be working with us on some more menu options, even if we can get some stuff into our convenience stores.
The Outreach Director.
Hi, my name is Casey Soper. This is actually also in a similar vein. I've never lived on campus, so I've also never had a dining plan. And I had considered purchasing a dining plan this year just because I find myself spending a lot of my time on campus for a variety of reasons. But the reason I decided not to purchase a dining plan is because I'm vegetarian, and I found that like across campus, it can be really difficult to find quality options, or if there is one that I think would be good for me, it's like on the other end of campus, and it's a big campus, so it's like kind of difficult to navigate like crossing all the way across campus just to grab like lunch or a snack. And I was wondering, I guess like in the same vein, is there like a plan in place to try and make sure that these options are available like across campus as opposed to just in select locations?
Yes, actually there is. We have recently added I guess I should say underground is probably our biggest challenge to have vegan and vegetarian options. We have very limited kitchen space. So our fear of cross-contamination with other meat products is huge to us. So what we have done is created and are building on a salad bar over there, and then working on offering some more protein-based beans, quinoa, vegetable blends to replace and substitute for our ham, turkey, or chicken options. So underground is our big focus right now. That's where I've received the most of the feedback from the beginning of the semester. We do have the options here at the market downstairs on the 3rd floor. We have the salad bar. We also have our rice bowls. So I feel like we have it pretty good covered right there. And then all of our dining halls, north, south, east, we're really working on that. We just created the KU Zone, which is a special kitchen, essentially, that you can sign up for on the Grubhub app and express your concerns in there. And then we have an expanded menu on that as well. As far as vegan options, that opposes a little bit more of a challenge. A lot of vegan options are fried, unfortunately, that we have access to, which requires an extra fryer. At some of our locations, we don't have that equipment and we don't have the space to be able to do that to where there is no cross contamination. But at Courtside Cafe, fortunately, we are able to do that because we have the equipment and the space.
My name is Amido Larinwaju. I'm an international student senator. So I have a question for housing and for dining. For housing, you're talking about some renovations that you guys feel is past due, which is some of the reason why you're increasing your fees to do these renovations. What plans do you guys have for the towers? Because whenever I started coming to KU, there were 4 towers. Now there's 2, and 2 have been shut down. And like I've just been hearing a bunch of things about plans for the towers. So you're renovating housing spaces on Daisy Hill. Like, what plans do you guys have for the towers? Because this is just space that students can use, and you guys can testify to the fact that students need these spaces.
Yeah, so Tower B and C are closed and they're permanently closed. The current plan is that they're going to be demolished. It is in a Board of Regents materials. We did a study on Towers B and C because they hadn't been renovated yet. A and D were renovated about 15 years ago. But B and C were not renovated. And so we did a study on those to look at what the cost of the renovation was and what the return on that investment was. And we determined through that it was going to cost, if I'm remembering right, almost $40 million total to renovate them to a standard that we felt they should be at. And they're not worth that much. And so it's unfortunate that they are closed because we desperately could have used them this year. But the plumbing in them is not in a space that it could have been pressurized because that was one of the major pieces in the renovation. And so we are currently studying through the housing master plan what to do and when we might be able to afford to raise those, which means demolish them. And also then the future of A and D. We currently have bonds on them, which means we still have almost a mortgage or loans that are still due. But that is prime real estate also for the campus. And so we're trying to weigh if there's a new development of housing that could come online and be built in about the next 5 years. And so that's where Gateway has some housing in it. If you've seen those plans near the stadium, none of that's confirmed. Our endowment also bought Hawker recently. And so we're currently running that entire facility. And so while I'd like to renovate the towers because it's such premium space right now, it's not worth the investment. So I do anticipate they will be demolished in the next several years. And then likely that area would be turned over to the academic corridor because it's such prime space there near the law school and the engineering complex for the future there.
Hold on, we have a question from a new person in the back. Go ahead.
I had 2 questions. I had one for dining as well.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, follow up,
Okay.
my bad.
So my question for dining, so you're talking about how one of the things you're planning on doing is renovating union spaces. I think I probably do not understand what you mean by union spaces. And could you explain a little bit what you mean by union spaces and why dining is kind of responsible for renovating those spaces?
Okay, I'll start with your first part. As far as union spaces, there's some internal work that we need to get up to code. So that's going to take priority. And that's when I'm saying that it's heating, cooling, plumbing, the boring stuff. And then there's the cosmetics, is, the refinishing the walls, replacing carpet, replacing furniture, again, just kind of updating the spaces so we can kind of draw a community. The reason that dining does contribute to it is that we are one of the higher revenue generators in the union. So our revenue that we build actually goes back up to the union and filters down.
So would you say the money that's being made by dining is a very big factor to running the union currently?
Not necessarily running it, but to assist in renovating it.
Thank you. We'll go to you.
My name's Jack Rost. I know that, I don't know if this is technically in your field. I know you're talking about renovating with the dorms and stuff, but with the biggest freshman class that we've had at KU in history, are there plans on building more dorms and or housing like by Downs where we have demolished that old one and have a field now?
So we are studying that site where Oliver used to be for a potential new housing site. There was information before the Kansas Board of Regents in March that listed the potential for about a $60 million residence hall to go there. But nothing is confirmed at this time. It's really expensive to finance a building, as you can imagine. The earliest that you would see a new building on that site would probably fall 28, but we're looking at it currently. We're not expecting the first year class to stay this large, in perpetuity. The number of 18-year-olds in the United States is going to drop off just because of birth rates, right? But it's been amazing the work our admissions has done. And so just trying to stabilize that is pretty critical for us. It'd be nice to build another new residence hall and have it approved already. But again, housing has to be able to finance that. And we have to do that off the room rate. So we're being really sensitive on that.
Hi, I have a question for
Name
Ms.
and
Waters.
position,
Oh,
please.
and my name is Emma, and I'm Center for Liberal Arts and Sciences. Hi, Sarah. I just want to ask a quick question in kind of that same vein. You mentioned that the number of 18-year-olds is going to go down, but in the near future, do you know has the administration talked to you about if they're going to be accepting more freshmen next year, as they've been doing a larger and larger class in these last few years, and how that's going to affect returning residents, since freshmen usually have a preference for on-campus, or not preference, they're usually first
given
in
priority.
terms of they have priority in terms of on-campus housing.
So Vice Provost Nick Stevens is who works to set the enrollment targets. And so honestly, didn't expect this class this year to be as large. And so the university is really hoping to be about 5,100 and came in over 5,300. And a lot of that is just the amazing work of how we were able to scholarship and recruit. And then housing did open up about 400 additional beds when we delayed the Lewis renovation. And we also made some 6-person apartments in Stouffer. So I think that helped. And so, Nick Stevens would be a great person to answer your question formally. I know, the 1KU initiative that's out now with, all of our campus being considered together, really looking at how we can be as cohesive as possible and thinking about where there's opportunities for enrollment growth. The most important thing the university wants to do, though, is retain students that we bring here to start. And so that's where building up services, building up housing capacity, especially in the town, is critical. There are no current student housing developments under construction in the city of Lawrence. And so it's going to be really hard to find off-campus housing for folks that are just ready to phase out and move into the community. Also hard for graduate students who get admitted on a completely different cycle coming into the university. So we're working closely with the city of Lawrence on that as well to understand what's going on. But to stabilize.
Go ahead.
Hi there, Courtney Miller, College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. You mentioned the Lewis renovation. I was just wondering specifically about the Q room and if you guys were planning to keep it where it is, expand it, move it, what exactly the plans were for it.
You're talking about a specific space for the Rainbow community?
Yeah, second floor.
Well, right now we've moved that community to Templin, and because we thought Lewis would be closed, so we went ahead and moved it for this year. We're still assessing that space and the needs of the students, and then also how many students we need to have in our gender inclusive housing. And so, so hopefully over the next year, while that renovation is going on, we can get a better idea. We are looking to do card access a little bit differently to help make that space more exclusive, if that makes sense.
The student body vice president.
I had 2 questions, one for housing and one for dining. For housing, I was curious, what is the university's plans for the recent acquisitions, such as Hawker and Naismith in the future? Is the plan to eventually sell them, or is it going to be a part of the university's repertoire?
Okay, so those are actually distinctly different.
Okay.
So I'll start with Naismith. Naismith is actually privately owned, and actually its private ownership just changed. So the company we started our master lease with last year just sold the building. So it's a new ownership group. We, however, have one more year after this on our master lease. And then we have the option for another year beyond that. And so I've met the new owners, and I anticipate they're going to be in town over the next couple of years, or I'm sorry, couple of weeks. And so Naismith is considered a short-term master lease with private ownership. Hawker was bought by KU Endowment. And so as a a unit that's here to benefit the university. Endowment now owns Hawker through a separately set up LLC. The hope is that that's a long-term master lease, if not an acquisition, which means a purchase by housing. And the initial deal structure on that with endowment as part of our master lease is that within the 5 years, the hope is that we will actually buy that from endowment. But as somebody that had the cash on hand, because that's what's amazing when you have $1 billion endowment, they were able to buy it. And then we're currently master leasing it. So paying all expenses for Hawker, but endowment is holding that ownership right now. So I think Hawker is likely a long-term asset. But until we get all of that worked through in terms of the financing and the deal structure with them, it will just be a year-to-year master lease. Okay.
Do we still have a question from the Community Affairs Director?
I had 2 parts to my question.
Oh, right, go ahead.
Yes, I'd announced that. And then I had a question for dining. You had mentioned that an increase in fee was partly due to looking to hire new talent. Could you explain, like, what are you looking for in this talent? Like, what qualifications?
Okay. I'm going to start from part-time associates up because the part-time associates are included. Currently, we're at an $11 an hour rate, and it's pretty hard work. So we have to look at increasing that rate to also look at our competition that we even have in town. And we really want to continue to hire our students because we are a student-based workforce. So we need to think about raising that rate just in general. We're also restructuring our residential halls and their organization chart to where we have a culinary manager that we just recently hired. And the culinary manager's job is to recreate all of our menus and recreate scratch kitchens again instead of buying pre-processed food. And so with that change, we're also hiring kitchen managers, and they're going to be the ones that will produce it in each location. I will say with the proposal of this, these dining plans, we will return north to an all-you-care-to-eat facility as well. So we have to hire the culinary talent over there that will replace the menus to make it an all-you-care-to-eat facility. So a lot of it is what we say is back of the house, so behind the dining walls, so you can't see where all the production takes place. And again, that is a very competitive wage in this town that we have to meet the requirements for.
All right. So my question is, first off, like, what you guys plan to get more healthy food at the rec center, especially when like students like, I don't know if it's you guys' responsibility, but like, what's your like, do you guys have plans to like get more healthy food at the rec center?
As far as the rec center, KU Dining is not involved in the food there. We are in the works with the director of the rec center, Jason, to get some more options over there. Again, beginning stages of just conversation. He is aware that we need some more healthy options over there, but as far as dining's responsibility, we don't have the we don't get to have the responsibility at the rec center.
And my last question is just, I don't know, I'm just curious because I know right now we're in the 21st century, but I'm just curious, like, why do you guys have like no cash policy on campus, and why is that? Because some days I usually have cash and I want to buy something at the union, and they'll tell me like, no, Doug, like you can buy it. So I'm just like,
Well, as far as the cash policy with the dining, we do accept cash at 2 locations, and that's going to be here at the market, and then over at Courtside Cafe. The no cash policy came into play when we switched to Grubhub and we went to guest-facing kiosks. So at our locations of Chick-fil-A and Underground, since they're guest-facing kiosks, it is a no cash policy.
Thank you, the Outreach Director.
Hi, I apologize. I also have 2 questions, and for each of you. Sorry, questions. Yay. Hope this feels like it was, like worth coming. This is kind of fun. Okay, first question for housing. I was wondering, so I lived at the Hawker last year, and this thought had crossed my mind because I was confused. So I was wondering, did endowment choose, and I don't know if this is a question for you necessarily, but I just want to further my understanding. So like, when I lived at the Hawker last year, it was they were all 4 bedrooms. There were 4 units per floor, and there were 4 floors per building and 3 buildings in total. So I believe that's like 16, 464, 64 times 3. That's like 196 maybe, something along those lines.
216 beds.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was close. No, I was close. I was wondering, given the lack of like housing options, I was wondering, was there a specific reason other than maybe availability in terms of purchasing housing near campus, that endowment would have chosen to like purchase like housing that would be considered luxury and also like relatively limited space for students? Because like given the lack of housing, I guess I was wondering like why such a small facility like for such like a luxury experience compared to some of the other housing options like would have been selected.
So that's a great question. So Hawker's proximity to campus and proximity to the new stadium development played heavily in the decision to move forward with that purchase. Endowment also had and has a relationship with the previous owner of Hawker, because he has been a major donor to the university. And so it was seen as a space because the university endowment owns actually Sunflower duplexes right next to it. And so that was part of, if not most of the motivation to look at that space. We also have data that shows that that unit type is one that is exceptionally popular, and that we would be able to fill very easily. So that was also part of the decision.
And then as for dining, I just was curious. So it seems like going over all of this, like your request for an increase in like the cost of dining plans seems like entirely reasonable, for sure. Especially when comparing it to the numbers of other, and it's kind of crazy that ours would be like cheaper than schools that are smaller than ours. But no, I just was wondering, like talking about like the rates of like pay for some of these workers, I'm like looking at it and thinking like, whoa, like that's like so much less than like I make, like even at my like off-campus job. And I wonder like, is that a like continued struggle? And like, what are the plans to like combat like, cost of living or cost of going to the university, like for that matter, like to get more students into these positions when the pay it might not be nearly as competitive as it needs to be, and simultaneously I guess like helping students to understand why the cost of their dining plan may be so expensive, because I know a lot of people are like, I feel like I'm not getting what I'm paying for. Simultaneously, like we're not considering the fact that we're going to pay for hundreds of people's wages, right? So I wonder if there's a plan to like communicate that to students, or if that's something that seems relevant.
It does. The way that we view it is that we have to have staff in order to feed you. There was a time where we were short enough staff that we couldn't open all of our locations on campus. So in order to open all of our locations on campus, we have to be staffed up to be able to take care of the students that have dining plans, and so they can get the value that they're paying for. So essentially that's kind of, the explanation of, you're going to be purchasing these dining plans, but we have to give you the value that you're purchasing. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, we have a question from the Vice Chair of the Finance Council. Could you please pass the catch box over? Prasad, over here. Nice.
So regarding the Grubhub processing software that you guys use, do you know how much the licensing fee KU is paying on a year-to-year basis currently?
That's actually something we are in conversation with Grubhub about. We were one of the pilot stores, so we were not paying the standard fees. So funny that you mentioned that. I'm actually in debate with that right now, so I don't have a clear answer for you.
Gotcha. So based on peer institutions that were not part of the pilot program, and compared to when KU entered into the pilot program, do you have like an expected projection of how much you might pay? Like, I know you guys are over negotiations over like volume and all the rest of the stuff that you guys do, but yeah, if you could give like a ballpark estimate, that'd be great.
So are you talking as far as just our annual fees to have Grubhub as our point of sale unit?
Yeah.
Okay. That is what we're looking at. What was it? I think it was about $50,000, but split between the 17 locations that we use Grubhub at.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions? Oh, I'm sorry, we have one back here.
Miss Mia.
Mia Kane.
Hi, I'm Mia from Community Affairs. My question is, I lived in Temple I used housing and dining services my freshman year, and from my experience and just talking to my peers about using these services, I'd say the biggest issues I've found are in terms of overall cost and overall health as well. So I know you've talked a bit about the healthy dining options on campus and expanding that, but can you touch on what you're doing about the mold issue that I've been hearing about in most, if not all, living spaces on campus? And additionally, can you tell us about how respect for students' financial situation has played into just your overall budgeting as well as this increased decision? Thank you.
So I think it's important to acknowledge that just because an article was written in the Kansan doesn't mean it's completely true. And so if there's a Kansan reporter in the room, I'd love to speak with you at a later point. And you've talked to some of our staff, but I think that we take every report of any kind of environmental concern, including mold, extremely seriously. And we follow our processes every time. Do we have mold in our buildings sometimes? Yes, absolutely we do. It's an environmental condition that's caused when the air handler backs up and we're not getting the right fresh air intake. We did have a rooftop unit in Templin that was down over the move-in weekend this past year that was causing some significant concerns in there. We called in emergency maintenance and we walked nearly every room in the building to make sure that all the systems were working properly. And so we also spend a lot of time in scholarship halls and in a lot of our other areas doing preventative maintenance. So that's pretty sensitive to us because we want you to be healthy in our communities. We want you to always be healthy, even though you're also in a germ pool, unlike any other you've ever experienced, right? When you come to school. And so, we invest a lot of money there, though, Mia, just for context. And that is something that we're looking at right now. We've done duct cleaning routinely in many of our facilities over every single summer, depending on the type of units. And so we're working with our partners in campus, centralized services, again, facility services, as well as environmental health and safety to make sure we're following all standards. But when it's really, really hot outside and your air conditioning is blowing in your room at like a 62 degrees and you're mixing hot and cold air, what happens? Mold forms. And so those were other pieces that we had to combat this past summer is, well, you're too cold, so turn your thermostat up, please, because that would make a big difference, and close your window because then it helps balance the space. So honestly, one of the things we may be doing system-wide in housing is putting limiters on all the thermostats this coming year. So you don't have the variance then to be able to go all the way up and down. And we don't like that, but it also would help us, I think, in the overall environmental condition. And so, but every single time somebody notices something, they have to let us know. Just taking photos and calling their mom doesn't help us get staff there, right? I mean, moms are great. I am one. But at the same time, doesn't help us get staff there to immediately start addressing the concern. So that would be my response. And happy to talk to anybody if you have further questions on that.
Further questions?
There is a second part to my question about overall consideration for just student financial wellness, because, I mean, dining plus housing is a huge cost, especially freshman year. Thanks.
As far as our dining plan is concerned, that has actually been a really big focus with restructuring it as well. When you see this, you'll notice that we're going to a meal swipe plan. We're trying to eliminate the declining dollar plan, because what is happening is that students aren't budgeting it well. So they're either not eating and they have too much money at the end of the year, which does not roll over. And unfortunately, students are ending up with, we've seen $3,000 on their card to where they're trying to spend it at our convenience stores, buying their students. So that's kind of, we're trying to prevent that and make sure that we have food security now, is that students can have their 14 meals a week and they know what they have that week, and we're not budgeting for an entire semester, we're budgeting for a week. And so we're eliminating those spots as for like financial security and making sure that they're getting what their money is going towards.
I'll just also quickly address the housing aspect. We have an incredible variance on our room types, and that's intentional. So in the scholarship hall community, all the way up, I mean, there's a $10,000 range in the lowest room price to the highest. And we have students in every single one of those demographics that is looking for those spaces. The scholarship halls also benefit incredibly from donors who've given scholarships to the point that we have $500,000 in scholarships also to students that live in the scholarship hall community. And we're working on trying to get dedicated scholarships for students that live in traditional residence halls as well.
The Community Affairs Director.
All right.
Can we please get Courtney, pass the catch box up? It's a big throw. You got it.
I'm not going to try to throw it.
Coward's way out.
All right. So my question is for both of you. I just want to know, like, just to restate my
Order. Thank you. Go ahead.
Just to restate my position is community affairs directors, and I know like food and housing is part of like the community, and also just to know that I could arguably say I'm like your liaison to student senate, and we open for business, and we open to like as student leaders on campus. We open to like pass information. So just want to know, do you guys have like a newsletter, or do you guys also have like how do you guys get information across to the campus?
I know as far as all the events that we do carry or have at our residential dining locations, which have increased this year significantly and will continue to increase, is published in the housing newsletter that's sent out. All of those are submitted to them. And as far as retail dining, it's pretty much through our marketing department and social media.
And as Lindsay stated, Housing has a weekly newsletter that we send on Mondays. And we usually have a 40 to 55% open click rate on it. And so, and that goes directly to anybody with an on-campus housing assignment.
Any further questions? I'm seeing one back here. Could we please get, yes, Mia, thank you.
Kind of going based off of what
Name
Mia,
and position, please.
my name's Amara. I'm a first-year senator.
Thank you.
Kind of going based off of what Mia asked, is there a reason why the balance left from dining plans can't roll over to the next year or be used for the bookstore or some other purpose on campus?
Okay. It can be used for the bookstore, and that's usually where it goes to. And that's another reason we're trying to alleviate the bookstore, because if you notice, guests that are going in there that want to purchase something can't, because their shelves are empty because they can't keep up. The reasoning behind it is that it's just you'll see it. It's a typical policy across campuses in the Big 12, Big 10, Pac-6. I mean, essentially, it's just a policy that most universities hold. That's as basic as I can get on that one.
Hey, Lindsay, some of those dining dollars do roll over. Right?
They roll over from fall to spring, yes, but not not from semester to semester. The 440 plan, however, it does roll over as long as you're enrolled as a student or have a working KU ID. But that's the other reason we're just going to eliminate that issue and that budgeting qualm, I guess you could say.
Thank you.
Further questions? I'm seeing one from the Vice Chair of Community Affairs.
Thank you. Wait, so with the meal swipes, if they like have money, they won't have money left over to use. So like if they don't use up all their meal swipes, like they're eating like 7 instead of 14, then that money just goes to waste. Then they didn't get their meal swipes because they didn't use it, and now they can't go to like the bookstore or the convenience.
As far as the meal swipes are concerned, there are some dining dollars on there that can be used. We're also we give the option of the 10-14 and all access to accommodate all eaters. And then as well as offering, I don't know if anybody's aware, this year is we have a Heart at Campus pass. So you don't have to use your swipe at our to all you care to eat facilities. You can use your swipe on campus as well. So we're opening the options of where our students can eat to ensure that they will use all their swipes.
Further questions? I see Mia Keen.
Mia, follow up on your question over here. Is there a forum where you are taking student input for this dining plan change, or is this just being enacted sometime in the future?
We're presenting it to you. We've presented it to the provost, and we've presented it to Jeff DeWitt. And we've also taken a lot of feedback that we've received in past years and this year via our email. So we have taken the input or taken the suggestions and conversations to accommodate our students and moving into this plan.
And that includes the Memorial Union Corporation Board, which is the governing body of the unions, and so which the provost is the chair of that, and there's student representation on that body.
Sorry, to clarify, I meant specifically the change from the reduced balance plan to the swipe plan in terms of dining specifically. Is there a place where there is student input where we can talk to you about that before it gets implemented?
I would suggest the KU dining email. That way we can take all of our information.
Thank you.
Further questions? The outreach director.
Sorry, guys, make it quick. So with the reason that money wouldn't roll over, like, so for the 440 plan, if I were to get it for the spring and I were to spend $400, but then I enroll in fall 2025, would my leftover $140 remain?
For the 440 plan, yes.
So is there a reason why it is left over for the 440 and not the other plans? Like I said, not a lot of experience eating on campus. Don't really understand the concept of a swipe and a dining dollar. And then also, is the reason it wouldn't roll over and like swipes would be going to a waste because KU dining has already, it's like you're not getting all the food that you paid for, but simultaneously the money has already been like factored into the budget to pay salaries and pay for the food that's being purchased that's not being eaten.
And it goes to facilities and maintenance. You'll notice on a lot of dining plans for other universities, they do charge a fee for that and a certain percentage, whereas we don't charge that fee or percentage. And as for your 440 plan, that's it's towards our commuters and our off-campus diners, hence the reason we roll it over from semester to semester.
Thank you.
We will go to you. First things first, I would like to remind everyone, it is currently 7:30 p.m. We have the rest of our agenda to get through. We have to be out of here by 9:45 at the latest. Go ahead. Name and position, please. Sorry.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Sophie Terry, and I'm a graduate student senator. That last question just made me wonder, is the number of meals prepared for 1 week based on the number of meal plans, or is it based on data from the previous week and the weeks before that on how many people are actually eating? Because if there's often students that have money left over at the end of the year, it would potentially be a waste of food to make the amount that would be indicated by the meal plans themselves.
It's based on data from previous year.
Okay.
And then as far as the meal swipes, yes, we do prepare food for the amount of swipes that we feel will go through each dining experience of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But as far as that's concerned, that's just ongoing. Is running a kitchen. We're not going to prepare all that food at once. So we'll kind of judge it. So our food waste is actually quite minimal, especially in our residential locations, because we do have a computer system that basically tells us how much to make every day, because it will take the patterns.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Again, there's not much waste. If we have any leftover food at the end of the semester, we do donate to Campus Covered, as well as Just Foods in Town. We do donate a lot of our produce. If not, we prepare, freeze, so we can use it the next semester. So that is a focus, is food waste.
The outreach director was not recognized, but thank you for answering the question. Do we have any further questions, keeping in mind our current time? Robert.
All right, thank you. So is there a minimum amount required to kind of swipe? Like if you use a swipe to just buy a coffee, does that count as one of your 14 swipes?
That would count as one of your 14 swipes. But as far as purchasing a coffee, your swipes don't essentially work at our coffee houses. But if you were to want to use a swipe and get an apple into one of our dining or all you carry eat facilities, that would count as a swipe. Excuse me.
Okay.
I just need you to know I have less than 5 minutes before I need to leave. Otherwise, my 13-year-old is going to be sitting in the dark at a soccer field. So I hope you can respect that. I'm happy to take more questions, but I do need to go shortly. Yeah.
Fair enough. Any further questions? Seeing none, please give a big round of applause to our presenters.
We do really appreciate your time and and the questions. And so thank you. My 13-year-old will also thank you because otherwise my phone would be blowing up here in a few minutes.
So, Sarah, you're heading out. Will you be staying to answer questions later in the meeting?
I had planned on hanging out as well.
Fair enough. Okay.
Would it be
But-
possible, Chris, Robert, to make sure that their contact information is included in the minutes? So senators
Yes,
can also
absolutely.
follow
Do you
up if they have
business cards
questions,
we can copy down?
or just even their email. We can look it up on the KU website and put it there.
I have the email for Jack. Does that work better?
That would work just the same.
Yes,
He
I have
forwards
the-
them to me anyway, so.
I have Sarah's email and I have Jack's email, so we can put those in the minutes.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Round of applause. Round of applause. We will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the officer reports. The student body president. The student body president. Order, please. How much? When you're ready.
Okay. Can we go back to the agenda?
Yes. You have it? Yeah, got it.
Okay. So first, I'm just gonna start with a couple updates on some of the platforms that our executive staff has been working on. So the KU launch fundraiser that we're doing to fundraise to get some funding for some of our platforms that we're working on. Casey Soper, our outreach director, he has worked on this for like a month and a half now. And so it is finally up and it has launched. And so we're working to get donors, to get some sponsorships so that we can have funding to work on some of the different platforms and just initiatives that we're working on this year in Student Senate. Also, our government relations director, Molly McGarry, she has been working on several different projects. One of the things is Holidays in Higher Ed. This is, for those of you that are new, this is an annual event that we have each year. Basically, it's just a big networking event that Student Senate hosts with KU administrators, along with state, local, and federal legislators, and just different administrators in those different spheres. And so it's an opportunity for students and all these administrators to be able to network and interact with each other. And so Molly's working on that. And the date right now is Friday, December 6th, and it will be here in the Union on the first floor in the Hawk's Nest. And once it gets a little closer, Molly will do her own officer report to give you all of the details for that. Another thing that she's working on is building relationship between KU students and the city. And so she's working with the city commissioners and city managers to try to create a student seat to be a student city commissioner that would be ex officio. So they would just be there to provide just the student input to try to further create a connection there. And then just to give you guys an update, because last time I gave my officer report, it was right before we were going to the Big 12 Student Government Conference. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of an overview of how that went. So just a reminder, it was at Iowa State. They hosted it this year. It was during fall break weekend. And so all of the different universities, we gave presentations on the things that they gave presentations on the things that they're working on their campuses. We gave presentation on things that we're working on, and then there were different breakout rooms to further the collaboration. And so basically we learned a lot and we got a lot of new ideas for initiatives that we're thinking about implementing on our campus here. There we also learned a little bit about the plans for our conference in the spring. That's the Big 12 on the Hill conference, where it's a big lobbying event in Washington, D.C. And TCU is hosting that there this year. And the dates they gave us are in February. That's all we know right now. Once we know more, of course, we'll share with you like what the lobbying points that will be we'll be working on. We'll share those with you all, get input, all of that stuff. So that's pretty much it for platform updates and the conference updates. But one thing that I wanted to share is the executive staff and the executive branch were really working to create sort of this culture change within Student Senate. So I am a senior and I've been in Senate for going on 4 years now. And Senate, for whatever reason, has never really had great relationships with just student organizations across campus. I think there's a big misunderstanding between the two groups, and oftentimes it can result in like unnecessary conflict. And so, something that Yvonne and I have been working on, we started this week, and we're going to be continuing it on kind of throughout the rest of the semester, is we're meeting with a lot of different student groups across campus. We're meeting with their leadership just to sort of talk with them about, to try to bridge gaps basically that exist for whatever reason, or maybe were created in the past. So like, for example, we met with the leadership of like the BSU, NPHC, IFC. So we're meeting with, and we have more meetings planned as well. So we're just meeting with as many groups that are willing to speak with us really across campus, and across associations, just to try to, again, bridge that gap and sort of change this weird culture that exists where Student Senate doesn't really get along with student organizations for whatever reason. And then another aspect in changing the culture is this new dress code that we've implemented. For those of you that don't know about this dress code, it's okay. We're not fully implementing it. Well, we are fully implementing it, but it won't start until next assembly. So if you didn't dress like business casual today, that's okay. But that's basically going to be the new dress code. Councils will be completely casual. You can wear, whatever you want, but assembly needs to be business casual. This was an idea that we got from attending the Big 12 conference. Pretty much all of the other student government associations in the Big 12, they have a dress code. Some of them even make all of their senators dress business formal, so like in full suits. But we're not wanting to do that much, but there definitely needs to be a change in the atmosphere. In Student Senate, we are, as I said at the beginning of the year during orientation, we're not a club, we're not just some student organization, we are the official governing body for students on campus. And so therefore we need to show that sense of professionalism in all of the work that we do. And so that begins with the way that we dress. So that's going to be the new dress code for assemblies, is business casual. Again, you don't need to wear full suits. Nice jeans and a nice shirt or a nice blouse, that will work perfectly fine. Just no sweatshirts, hoodies, shorts, sweatpants, things like that. Just, elevate the way that you dress a little bit. Before I wrap up and take questions, I just wanted to give a welcome to all of the freshman senators that we have joining us this evening. And so if I could get the freshman first year senators to come up here real quick: Alexis Dominic, Maya Green, Amara, Valerie Boyd, and Jillian Opie, if you're here. If you guys just want to give a brief, like your name and what you're studying, where you're from.
Hi, I'm Alexis Dominic. I'm a first-year senator. I'm from Overland Park, Kansas, and I'm studying mechanical engineering.
Hi, I'm Maya Green. I'm also a first-year senator. I'm from Olathe, Kansas, and I'm studying political science on a pre-law track.
Hi, I'm Amara Ndubisi. I'm from Olathe, Kansas, and I'm studying behavioral neuroscience on a pre-law track.
Hi, I'm Valerie Boyd. I'm also from Olathe, Kansas, and I'm studying marketing.
Hi, I'm Jillian Opie. I'm from Lee Summit, Missouri. I'm also studying political science on the pre-law track.
So that's it for my officer report. Any questions?
Questions for the student body president? I'm not seeing any. Okay, thank you. The student body vice president.
Time. 10 minutes. Hello, everyone. Like Danae mentioned, definitely want to welcome all of the new recently appointed senators. That's phenomenal. Honestly, it takes a lot of work. So congratulations for you all to be here, take an initiative to run and represent the school. I wanted to provide some updates on the platforms additionally that people in the executive staff have been working on. These are all some of the platforms that Danae Estabian and I ran on last year. So I wanted to provide you all with some updates and just to kind of give you some more information about the progress that we're making and our future steps. And so one of the things that I spoke about at the last General Assembly meeting was about Narcan. And so I have met with representatives from housing to try and see if this would be a feasible option for us to provide them in residence facilities. And so Student Senate would be interested in funding this and providing it to the residence halls, but it would just be a matter of where could we put it. And so I had a meeting with Jeff and Carrie, and so we kind of spoke about potentially putting them in the AED kits. Of course, due to liability reasons, we're not actually allowed to require anyone from the university, especially not RAs, to administer this. But we do want to have this as an accessible resource to all students because we are in an opioid crisis. And I think this is something that is really important for us to address. So additionally, I had some fun time today. And so I went to the website of the DCCC, which is a organization that works with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And it actually kind of has free vending machines that actually have Narcan. And so if you check out their website, you can also request Narcan and naloxone kits. And so I actually went to the location by the transit center and I picked up a naloxone kit. So we have Narcan and we are going to be putting this in the Student Senate office. And so I think this is kind of the first step for us to have it more readily accessible on campus. And this is something that we are really passionate about. And I think this is something that we really need to take an active strive towards. Additionally, we're also working on educational opportunities, bringing in potential speakers on providing us with information on how to use Narcan, given that this is something that a lot of the other Big 12 schools have already done. And they also do have Narcan readily available in their residence halls. And so I'm actively working on making posters to provide us with information about the uses of Narcans, trying to like dismember some of the myths that we have about it. So if anyone's interested in helping me with that initiative, I would really appreciate it. Please feel free to email me or just message me on Teams. I would love to set up a time and we can work on that. And then as far as the parking platforms, so Danae and I have taken a lot of the information and the feedback from students regarding some of the issues that we have on parking. So something that we are working on is to present the following additions as well as the changes to the next Parking Commission meeting on November 22nd. And this includes free 2-hour parking in the front row of the rec center for all students, ensuring that the front row of the parking at the rec center is available for students to park on game days, having a parking ticket warning system, and similar to other Big 12 schools, having a payment option to donate to the KU Campus Cupboard, which is our local food pantry. So this would allow us to give money back to our own students. And then additionally, we've been working on renovating Potter's Lake. That was one of the ideas that we've talked about. And so this morning, Shay, our lovely PR director, and I met with Mark Reisky, and we actually did a nice little PR video to provide university updates about what is currently being done and what is in the works for renovations for Potter's Lake. So peep the gram if you have time later. Definitely drop a like, definitely drop a follow. Much more to come. And then I have a few more updates. As far as outdoor spaces, I met with faculty from the university's architecture program, especially for the 509 design build course. They are interested in helping us with the Weaver Courtyard renovations that I was talking about. So we will be meeting on November 1st. We will begin to kind of further that discussion with the necessary stakeholders like the Indigenous student groups, the Sunrise Movement, just so we have more information about what we can potentially do in this space. And then the hammock projects that we were also working on, we have successfully procured the poles for this. ROTC had some abandoned poles that were kind of obsolete. And so we were planning on using this to develop hammock fixtures to put into like the outdoor spaces, preferably some in front of the residence halls, the dorms, just to provide more opportunities for people just to hang out and kind of enjoy the spaces that we have here on campus. And then I have 2 more things. So Danae and I have implemented a letter campaign that we are trying to do. So Danae and I will be hand signing letters and we'll be sending them to faculty members and representatives from around the school just to kind of foster more engagement with Student Senate and to get more information about our organization, sorry, not our organization, the government, and just try to foster some relationships with potential collaborations. We were able to recently kind of rekindle the relationship that we have with the School of Architecture. And I think this is a great step for us going forward. So this is something that we've actively been working on, and members of our executive team have graciously offered to help us with delivering them. And the last thing that I wanted to highlight was a special request from Dr. Durham. So I talked about this before, but they're still looking for people potentially interested in the Leadership and Free Expression session on November 1st. We do not have that many applicants as of now. So if you are interested and would like to learn more, please click that link. It's going to be sent out in the minutes. And so you can find out more information. It's a great opportunity to further your leadership skills and also learn more about the university. That is all the updates that I have. Are there any questions?
Questions for the Student Body Vice President, Community Affairs Director. Catchbox, can you please pass it over? Thank you.
My question is, will student be getting like an absent excuse for the like leadership conference?
That's a great question. I'm not quite sure. I've provided the contact information, or it's actually included in the email or the link itself. So you'll be able to follow up with the necessary party. And also you can email Dr. Durham and she could also provide you with more information. Were you gonna say something?
I can add a little bit. So when I was participating in student affairs stuff last year, I was able to get a letter requesting excused absences from the student affairs vice provosts to like help avoid any conflict with my academics.
Yes, and I'll also inquire about that too, to make sure it's accessible for all students. Thank you. Dr. Treadwell was gonna say something.
Oh. Dr. Treadwell said we want you to participate, but you should, sorry.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Student Senate actually has a safety budget, and that is something I'm looking into, seeing if that's a possibility. But I'm also reaching out to the DCCA, which is what I mentioned in my officer report, to see if they would be willing to provide us with the Narcan kits, considering we'd only need about 50. And given the amount that are in each vending machine and the amount that's also readily accessible, I think it would be better for us if we could maybe work something out. But I'm really trying to make sure that we have some free options and some cost efficient, because I really think this is a good project and I want it to be sustainable for the future.
Thank you.
Further questions? I am not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The graduate student body president.
That was kind of funny.
Time?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brendan Phelan. I am the graduate student body president. Just some quick updates that I have for you. I currently am going through the Graduate Student Advisory Board's constitution, and we are completely rewriting it currently. I have a subcommittee with that with GSAB, and we're going through line by line and rewriting the constitution to best fit where we are currently. This constitution has not been revised in any form since 2017, and where we are now is a drastically different place than we were in 2017. In addition to that, I had the opportunity to serve on the parking commission this past Friday with Ivana. It was very educational, learned a lot about the different inner workings of parking and how the different lots operate, as well as the re-edition of Park and Ride will be returning to the university. That's something that's really exciting for those commuter students that are attending classes in Kansas City, or students who are attending classes here that live in Kansas City or around the surrounding areas. In addition to this, I also attended the Iowa State Conference and had the amazing opportunity to learn a lot about how other institutions operate, as well as their graduate student Senate positions operate as well. So yeah, that is all I have to update you on. Anyone has
Questions
any
for
questions?
the graduate student body president?
Manisha.
Manisha.
How's the park and ride gonna work? Like, what lot are they gonna use for that? Like, how much is it gonna cost to
Yeah,
students?
that's a great question. So I believe the cost is going to be $302. It's going to be the same cost as a yellow pass. That is something that I did contest. I do think that it should be a lower price, and I would be open to having that conversation again with the parking commission, just because it's not that equitable. for a lot of the graduate students who are paying that fee as an additional cost to attend here, as this park and ride lot previously cost when it was last used in academic year 2022, it was $220. So this is an $82 increase. However, this has been something that's not been operational for many years. The lot that it's going to be using is going to be on a West Campus. I don't know what the specific lot is on the top of my head, what lot number it is, but it is where it is by the soccer fields. Like if you're West Campus, yes. Thank you, Ivana. Innovation Park is out there if you know where those lots are.
Thank you. We are out of time, so if there are further questions, we will need an extension. I'm not seeing any further questions, so Community Affairs Director, do we have a motion to extend time? 5 minutes extension. Second?
Second.
Any objections? Seeing none, speaker's time is extended by 5 minutes. Community Affairs Director.
So my question is, if we have like a club or organization on campus that have like graduate students involved in it, and they are willing to like want to write a bill to get funding for their organization, can they reach out to you, or they should reach out to the treasurer?
They're more than welcome to reach out to both of us.
Got it. Thank you.
Further questions for the graduate student body president? I'm not seeing any. Thank you very much. The treasurer. Time.
Good evening. I'll try to keep it short because I know we're running a little slow today. Update on Wednesday night funding. The advisors have met and discussed and decided to allow us to use $40,000 to supply Wednesday night funding this year, which allocates $20,000 per semester. However, if we want to spend all 40 in the first semester or in the last semester, that's at the discretion of the you guys as the students, the finance council, and the voting that goes on there. We've spent roughly $2,000 of it already in allocations that have been previously made. So just keep that in mind going forward when you're voting on funding legislation. It is my assumption that that money is coming out of our reserves for the time being. I've just got clarification from that in the back. So yes, those are being taken out of the reserves, meaning that they will need to be replenished, whatever that required reserve amount is. Essentially, that's money that we're borrowing from the future, essentially taking a loan from ourselves, and it will have to be replenished. So that'll be something to be addressed in fee review and allocations when we're planning for that for next year. Furthermore, this will be my last week as treasurer. My final day will be the 30th. If you have any funding questions after that date, I recommend emailing the fund development director or the vice president. That's who I've been advised to tell you to email with those funding questions. And that's all I have to say.
Any questions for the treasurer? The vice chair of Rights and Affairs.
Hello. Are we gonna have like an emergency treasurer? Like, what is that situation gonna be after your leave?
That's not up to me.
Okay.
Further questions for the treasurer? I see Vice Chair of Community Affairs.
Ready?
So I know you're leaving your position, but from your opinion, like from the situation that you've seen so far, like you would probably know better than like the new treasurer. What do you like suggest, or what would be your recommendation on what we do, like Senate does, to go forward with our financial situation?
I'll try to make a short answer to the very complicated question. After going to Iowa Big 12 conference and discussing essentially our financials and the way our finances function with all the other Big 12 schools in attendance, we're supposed to have these roundtable events where we talk about, how funding works and how we differ. in these meetings that I think we had maybe an hour or two every day, even when these extended outside that time between me and the other financial people or students. Based on those conversations, they ended up being, how can we help fix KU's funding system? As unfortunate as that is, this isn't a problem that a lot of other schools are facing, and there's a reason for that. These other schools don't fund nearly as much or as many kinds of things as we do, and if they do, there's hard limits on how much funding. A good example is West Virginia funds very similar to us, where they will pay for all sorts of food and travel expenses. However, they strongly limit their organizations to roughly $1,000 per organization per year, right? So every other school seems to have some sort of limitations that prevent them from going into these overspending. They have strong oversight. They have executive veto powers within the treasurer position, or for that matter, not anybody can just join the finance council by attending to 2 meetings. In my opinion, the current system is, I was about to use the term dysfunctional, in the sense that the people who vote on how the money gets spent are the people who are spending the money, and there's no consequences for them when they overspend. I mean, you guys just got bailed out for $40,000 that you essentially didn't have. There's no consequence for that, right? And if you allocate $60,000, even though you're only told to allocate $40,000, right now there's no consequence. So it's at what point does somebody step in and fix the dysfunctional system? I honestly, in my opinion, which is what you asked for, don't think that you guys should be allowed to allocate any money given the history of what's happened over the last 2 years. I think there needs to be large overhauls of how that system functions when it comes to handling tens of thousands of dollars. And the history of spending over the last 2 years seems like there's irresponsible spending. And if I was somebody who was in charge of the bank account, I would look at that and say, why are we still letting these people spend all this money so recklessly? So in my opinion, there needs to be large overhauls, and you guys as the assembly need to take that into your own hands, because you guys are the people who vote on it, right? It's very hard for me to push a bill that says that you guys won't be able to spend as much money when there's no consequences for you guys taking that money. And that's my personal opinion, not the opinion of the Senate or the executive cabinet, but that's my personal opinion, which is what you asked for.
The Community Affairs Director.
Okay.
Order, please. Order. Order.
All right, so this is just my own personal belief, and I just want to say,
Is this a question?
nah.
Then please sit down. You are no longer recognized.
Damn.
Back there. Can you pass the catch box back, please?
We got it.
Now that you're stepping down, or I don't know if you're stepping down, but now that you're no longer going to be the treasurer, in what ways do you plan on supporting the person that's going to be taking over from this position? Because, like you said earlier, you've looked into the books, you even went to a conference, you've had discussion with people. I mean, technically right now, like, you have a good kind of, I won't use the word advantage, but you kind of have some form of insight. So even if you are stepping down or leaving this role, what form of support are you planning on giving Senate? I mean, I don't know if the student body wants your support, but like, if you were asked to provide such support, what kind of support would you be trying to give at this point?
Yeah, I provided the standard 2 weeks. So I submitted my resignation letter last Wednesday to the president, so that the executive cabinet has time to look for or try to find somebody to replace me. And if they want me to draft any, notes on how the position should, like, best advice on how to function and get the day-to-day stuff done, more than happy to do that during this last week. Also more than happy to help whoever they want to fulfill this role after I leave, guide them through the day-to-day, funding, application reviewing, and that kind of stuff. In terms of after those 2 weeks, I'm not going to be a member of Student Senate after that point.
further questions? Sean, did you have one? Sorry, Nathan Binstock. That's my bad. Pass it over.
My name is Nathan Benchstock, student senator and secretary of the Finance Council. For those of you that have been around, I mean, at least last year and then maybe a little bit before, the treasurer's office has definitely had a bit of a history in student senate. Do you have any insight into why that is or what could be done so that we have a more stable treasurer's office in the future?
Kind of back to the point where I think there's a imbalance of powers when it comes to funding. In my role, I essentially have no executive power over how the funds are spent. You guys can spend them however you want. I have no way to veto any spending. I have no way to executively approve any spending. And to that extent, it is my personal opinion that sitting in this role in a situation like the one that we've come to, which I think was more just pushed further down the line because of the excess money we had from COVID. I feel like if we didn't have that money, this would have happened 3 years ago. It essentially just becomes somebody to point the blame to or a scapegoat. Again, this is my opinion, because I sit here with no way to stop you from spending money. I have no way to tell you how to spend money. I don't vote on a single council, board, anything. I have no voting power, no veto power. So when you complain to me saying that you didn't get your funding and that I'm not giving you any money and I'm not doing my job correctly, the only reason I don't fulfill funding requests are because you submitted the paperwork late or you're asking for something that we clearly cannot provide due to the Constitution. And people get mad at me for that. Is it my fault? I don't think so. I mean, there's clear time restrictions. If you have an event, don't ask for your stuff to be funded the week before the event. It's not something that I can do physically. And then when funding bills get denied at the Senate level, based on the vote, I'm the person who gets told, why didn't we get our funding? I didn't vote on it. I didn't get to decide how that went. So because there's really no power to affect how the actual funds are spent, I question.
Nathan present. Do we have a motion to acclimate Nathan Tran as a? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, he's on his way. Well, what do you mean by on his way? Do you know? I see. Okay. Well, in the interest of time, it's 8:14. Do we have a motion to acclimate Nathan Tran as a replacement senator? I see a motion from the Vice Chair for Student Rights and Affairs and a second from the Outreach Director. Are there any objections to acclimating Nathan Tran as a replacement senator for the School of Business? Hearing none, let's give him an absent round of applause. We will get him added to the voting poll or to the voting channel so that he can participate once he arrives. The next item on our agenda is the consent legislation. Let's go over this really quick. It is $59 for Thrive KU. They hold meetings every Wednesday focusing on mental health, physical well-being, and bettering themselves in facets of life. Includes talk for meditation, goal setting, and so on. They're asking for $59. Their submitted budget is Topper's Pizza and a delivery fee for total expenses of $60. I don't believe we have anyone from the club here tonight, so I can answer questions about the form of the bill, but not much about the club's activities themselves. Any questions? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to vote on the consent agenda? I'm seeing a motion from the Outreach Director and a second from the Graduate Student Body President. Can we get the poll posted for the consent agenda? So as usual, the funding bills will require a majority vote to pass. We are getting the poll for this vote posted to the voting channel. I will let you know when it's up. And the poll is now live. This will be a 1.5 minute vote. Okay, time's up. Can I please get the poll results? Thank you, everyone. Voting has closed on the consent agenda. In favor of passage 37, opposed to passage 5, abstaining from voting 5. Accordingly, the consent legislation, which includes Bill 2025-002, a bill to fund 5KU, is passed. We will proceed to our regular legislation. We have 3 pieces of legislation to consider tonight. First up is a bill to have a community senator for the Engineering Student Council. Then we have a bill to fund Jayhawk Aero Design. And lastly will be a resolution for a Green New Deal for the University of Kansas. Presenting Bill 2025-017, a bill to have a community senator for the Engineering Student Council, is the student body vice president. How much time would you like?
5 minutes, please.
5 minutes, including questions? 10?
8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Could you please pull the bill up?
Absolutely. Actually, it's already pulled up. It's just a different tab.
Okay.
This is not it. Oh, okay. I just opened up Thrives twice. This is yours.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Go when ready.
Hello, everyone. Like Chris mentioned, I'm presenting a bill to have a community senator for the Engineering Student Council. So a little bit of context for those of you that were not at committees last week, but currently in Article 2, Section 2 of our current Constitution, we have quite a few community student senators. And the intention behind the community senator seat is to provide more representation to communities that have a very large presence, and people would appreciate having more of a role in the government. And so as a result, I'm proposing this bill to have more representation for the School of Engineering. So currently right now in the Constitution, the community student senator seats, there is one for the Graduate Student Advisory Board, Asian American Student Union, Black Student Union, First Nation Student Association, et cetera, et cetera. There's also one for the Undergraduate Business Council, the Multicultural Greek Council, Pan-Hellenic Association, Interfraternity Council, Muslim Student Association, and the National Pan-Hellenic Council. Many of these senators are sitting in the room today. And so the purpose of the bill that I'm proposing is to enhance the representation of engineering students by adding a representative from the Engineering Student Council, since there currently is one for the Undergraduate Business Council. And I know many other schools, many other colleges within the university also do have a council of sorts. And I think it'd be a great idea to also have them have a representative for their specific council, since they are elected to serve as a role within their school, and it would be nice to have a delegate to represent within the university as well. And so the enactment portion of this legislation would be to create this position, to have a representative from the Engineering Student Council. The eligibility for this, of course, they would be an active member within the Engineering Student Council. And then their term would be the same as all other Senate positions, the 1-year term. And then their duties would be to represent the interests, same things as a normal senator. The only thing is they would be representing the community of the Engineering Student Council. And then essentially this bill aims to ensure that there's more representation for engineering students, and then their concerns are addressed in the Student Senate. And so, yeah, that's basically all. Happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Do we have questions for the student body vice president? I see one from the secretary for the finance council. Can we please get a catch box over? Can you please pass that one over? Throw it.
I'm not
Or walk it.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to clarify, is this a constitutional amendment? And if so, what's being amended?
This is a constitutional amendment, and the amendment is actually the addition of the list It's the addition of the undergraduate engineering student council to the community student senator list.
Okay. And then like
Yes.
the being enacted language isn't going in the Constitution. It's literally just
The be it enacted is to explain more about the legislation itself and what would happen as a result of that change. But the specific change would just be the addition of undergraduate engineering student council to the list of the community student senators.
Further questions for the student body vice president? Community affairs director. Simra, can you throw yours up, please?
Oh my gosh, that's risky.
I believe in her.
I don't think it's
Yeah,
Sophie.
Exec on, exec violence.
Last time I hit somebody's laptop.
Order, please. Order. Sorry. Hola.
All right, so I think this is a really great idea, but the only concern I have is just that we already have like BSU has like their own senators. So what if all the multicultural group also demand to have their own senators? But I totally agree with you. This is amazing idea. So I just
Yeah. Currently, a lot of the other multicultural groups do actually, in fact, have senators. But if any other undergraduate council is interested in having a position, I would love to work with them on writing a bill. I think this is really important just so we have more representation in student senate.
As a matter of Senate procedure, there are currently 18 community senator seats. This would make it 19. Further questions? I believe you had one. Yes. Name and position, please.
Okay, Alexis Dominic, first-year senator. What I'm wondering is how the role of an engineering student council senator would differ from a school of engineering senator.
Yeah, that's a great question. So essentially, how it works is engineering senators are elected to represent the school, whereas like the undergraduate business council senator and the undergraduate engineering student council senator are elected as representatives of their school. So what I'm saying is engineering senators and like the business senators that run for their college, they're elected by anyone within the school, but they don't necessarily have to have a leadership role within the institution that they're a part of. So essentially this would allow these people to have like more of a representation, more of a say, and they'd also have more information and more of a leadership role per se, like as a requirement.
Further questions? Vice Chair of Finance.
So just to follow up to the Dominic question, so why not just increase the number of engineering seats, for example, that are allowed to run for like Senate? So why wouldn't somebody who's in engineering council just run for the engineering seat? Why the increase in representation?
Yeah, I realized I did not answer the last question as well as I should have. So something that is unique about just student councils in general is that they are elected and their roles are specific to the school, meaning they host events within it. So like for the School of Engineering, Engineering Student Council puts on events. They also like oversee like the FAC funding and stuff. So they know more information about like the allocation of like the resources within the schools. And I know that's the same for like the business school. So having someone specifically have a formal leadership role within the university and within the college would provide us with more information, and it might even be seen as an asset, especially when addressing potential financial issues that we've seen. So they can provide us with like extra information.
The Chair of Community Affairs.
Did the Engineering Student Council explicitly request this change?
Yes, they did. As a matter of fact, I'm also an engineering student, but I've worked closely with the Engineering Student Council president to come up with this legislation.
Further questions? I'm seeing from. Yes.
Hello, Sophie Terry and grad student senator.
Yep.
Is the number of community student senators we have kind of in line with what other Big 12 schools have in their student senates?
That is a great question. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head, but I'd love to look that up and get back to you on that. Cool. Yeah, it's a good one.
Further questions? Julie?
What is your?
I can speak, you know that, right?
Say anything.
Community Affairs Director.
Okay, so my question is that just this is gonna be like the engineering students. I don't know, like the engineering students. The bill you're trying to propose, they're gonna work with like leadership and building the gap between student senate, and what's their difference between what the engineering student senators are doing.
I believe that question was asked earlier, but maybe rephrased a little bit differently. I think this would also be an additional step for us to bridge the gap between different colleges that we have with the university. And I think that's really important considering that was kind of the same argument for the undergraduate business council. And so I think it'd be really cool to be more equitable across the university, across the colleges, to make sure that we have those representation and those people in higher places.
Yes. Sorry, name and position, please. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion to vote. I'm seeing a second from the Vice Chair for Finance. Is there any objection to ending discussion at this point and proceeding to vote on the legislation? Seeing none, we will have that poll posted shortly.
Yeah, those all three asked. Yeah, my answer was kind of all over the place. It's not very
I don't know.
Really?
To me, I was like, yeah.
I thought it sounded like you were talking.
Yeah, and also.
You said yeah.
And also, I mean, some days you just need to I just ask multiple questions and it makes sense, but at the same time, some days I'm just like,
Don't even care for the answer. Is it?
well, if it's important, I gotta ask because I represent the students' voice.
I just saw that call. Amen, brother.
I voted.
Even though I don't have but I'm gonna use my voice to spread the word.
Everyone, the vote on passage of this bill is now posted in the Students' Assembly voting channel. Please take care to fill out your vote. This will be a 1.5-minute vote. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm very curious. I don't have voting rights, but if you don't have a reason why, I don't understand why you have suggestions.
Oh. So I actually, yes, I heard.
Okay, I wasn't. I've heard about this. I really don't. There's nothing I can do. You can ask her. Much more fun.
Yeah, once that was gone,
She's really
it
nice.
lasts 2 hours. And
yes.
It's easy.
I hope so, yeah.
But February.
Those things. Like, there was some drama, don't get me wrong. But like,
You're 20.
everyone handled
I'm
such
forty.
like.
You're 20? Are you a sophomore?
40 seconds.
Guess what? I'm not.
You say you're 20.
I have a birthday.
I'm 20.
Wait, you're turning 21 this weekend.
My birthday was 2 weeks ago.
No.
I just haven't to celebrate.
But you've been celebrating on your own.
I've been celebrating.
With other people. Have you been celebrating with other people? Or?
It's
Freedom caucus.
Yeah, I mean, like, instead of that being
Yes.
Robert, I'm handling some presentation stuff real quick.
Is this on? Do you spend like the night and stuff? Like the place that you travel and stuff? Or just like
Well, like,
It's like, this is
Let's get this closed.
I like that.
4223. Order, please. Order. All right. Thank you, everyone. The poll for Bill 2025-017 is now closed. The results are in favor 42, opposed 2, abstaining 3. As there is more than 2/3 in favor, this legislation clearly passes. We will proceed to the next item on our agenda, Bill 2025-021, a bill to fund Jayhawk Aero Design, which will be presented by officers of the club. And just a matter of clarification before we get into it, we are using the version of the bill that was amended by the Finance Council. So it is currently $2,500, not the original 9,000 something. Yes. Hold on. I muted the display so that I could check my email. So your thing's here, and your bill is here. So I recommend going through the presentation first, and then when we get to questions, go over to the bill.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Oh, do you know, this includes questions, by the way. How long do you think it's going to take?
10 minutes. 10 minutes, hopefully,
Okay.
with potential extension.
Order, everyone. Please give respect to our presenters.
All right, hello everyone. My name's Avery Bahuniak, and my name's Emerson Bahuniak, and I'm the treasurer of Jayhawk Air Design.
I'm the president. We're here on behalf of Jayhawk Air Design, also called JAD. So a little bit of information about our student organization. We were founded in fall 2016, and our whole purpose is to compete in the annual AIAA Design Build Fly competition. So basically what that involves is taking these rules released every year by an aerospace professional organization and then going through the whole engineering process. So the designing, the manufacturing, the building, and then eventually the flying and competing in this competition every April. Our best finish was 13th, well, it was actually 6th in 2022. Our advisor is Dr. Ronald Barrett, an aerospace professor. And then our workspace is mostly the basement of the engineering building with a little bit of work at the hangar in Northern Lawrence. Just a little bit of background before I get into our budget for this year. The aerospace engineering department is growing incredibly quickly. We've actually seen a doubling in the undergraduate growth over the last 6 years. And the the aerospace department is now the largest school, department in the School of Engineering by number of incoming students. So because of that, we've seen really great involvement this year. We had over 150 people express interest during our Union Fest and Rock the Block events. We had over 70 people attend a design competition. We had over 80 people attend a collab event with the Jayhawk High Power Rocketry Club. And we had over 60 people at a glider competition. And these are all people that are very engaged with the club and have been consistently showing up to meetings. And historically, that's actually a 26% increase across the first 4 meetings compared to last year. Thanks. A little bit of information about why JAD is valuable. We're not just a recreational student organization. We provide immense value to the students that come through us. One of the ways we do that is through increasing the competitiveness of KU undergraduate students. We give students priceless design, build, fly experience that is highly valued by employers, and this boosts the reputation and competitiveness of KU students on the national stage. We also provide really great job opportunities. Putting Jayhawk Air Design on your resume is something super impressive to employers, something students can talk about in interviews, and catches the eye. One example actually is our chief engineer, Carson, and me, the president. We both got internships at Sierra Nevada Corporation, who is our corporate sponsor for Jayhawk Air Design last year. And our chief engineer, Haley Pfeiffer, who was here last week, unfortunately they have to work right now, on the club actually, just got an offer to work at SNC. So there's really great job opportunities. And then another example is our chief engineer last year actually got an offer to work for SpaceX. So there's just really great job opportunities that are coming out of Jayhawk Air Design. Another thing is we're open to all majors. While we do attract a lot of aerospace students, we don't just have aerospace students. For example, our treasurer Emerson here is a finance major. So we're working on attracting people from all majors, and we're already seeing that realized. Another great thing is great public publicity or positive publicity for KU. At this competition, we've got over 100 teams in attendance from around the world, and we've got teams at the likes of Stanford, MIT, Caltech, and a lot of the times we're beating these schools. And those are published on the national stage for this competition. And to have KU outperforming these really prestigious universities is just amazing for our reputation. And then also we put our KU logo on the plane, so we're flying that, and there's just a lot of great public publicity. All right, now I'm gonna get through our budget, try to go pretty quick. This year we requested a total of $45,000 for the operation of our club, split between these categories. The first major category is core engineering materials, which is around $21,000. This is pretty much exactly what we spent last year. So despite inflation, we are actually looking to minimize our budget mostly in electronics. So this is core engineering materials. Travel. So this year we have to go to Tucson, Arizona for the competition. So we're estimated to spend around $15,000 on travel. New equipment. We're looking to make some new investments.
on equipment to improve the competitiveness of our students. So you can see those outlined there. And then marketing social. Originally in our budget, we were hoping to have $2,000 of food for meetings, and then also recruitment. So this is our approved funding so far. The School of Engineering has approved us $11,000 purely for travel. So that'll cover like a little over 2/3 of our travel funding. We're going to be using department money, which is about $10,000 that we've been approved to cover the rest of our travel and a little bit of our engineering expenses. And then we've been approved $11,000 by the Engineering Funding Advisory Committee, which Ivana actually mentioned previously. So that leaves us with $12,500 of funding that we are looking to secure. So for that, we're anticipating to receive around $3,000 from the Sierra Nevada Corporation, which is that company I mentioned earlier, in corporate sponsorship. So we originally came to Student Senate, who's been our historical partner, looking for $9,500. However, when we came last week, we were informed of your guys' budget situation and being cut from $60,000 to $40,000 in debt, a lot of issues, and how that is pretty much unfeasible because that is half of your budget for this semester. So this was our original request. And then when talking with some senators, really understanding the situation of what you guys are going through, we came up with a revised, bare bones, what we absolutely need to run this club and to compete and to have KU still keep this club running, a revised request of $2,500. Where, Emerson, can you go back? We completely cut meeting food request from Student Senate. We completely cut a downdraft table, which is actually important because it helps remove carbon fumes, so people don't breathe that in. We can maybe have safer practices to, prevent that. Completely cut a laser cutter that we were requesting and a vacuum pump, just for these absolutely essential things we need to continue the operation of our club. So $2,500 for just composite materials. What that is that's the carbon fiber that we're manufacturing this aircraft out of. So we absolutely need that to make an aircraft. And then $1,500 for the electronics. So that's like the servos, the motors, the receivers. We're actually this year, instead of just building an aircraft, we have to build a whole autonomously guided glider. So all the electronics for that and for the iterations that we're building. So we don't just build one plane. We build multiple, test them out, and then iterate to make the most optimal design. So our historical partnership, compared to previous Senate contributions, 2 years ago, you guys approved Jayhawk Air Design $24,000. Last year, we were approved $11,000 from Student Senate. So this year, our request of $2,500 is drastically low compared to what you guys have historically contributed to our club. Our original request was actually low. This year, we're 90% lower than 2 years ago and almost 80% lower than a year ago. So that blue is this year, red is previously years. So because of that, we basically came up with this revised budget last year when we met with the different councils, and this is the voting of our approved or revised $2,500 budget, passed with a pretty large majority in both councils. So now we're just looking to hopefully get your guys' approval. Any questions? Thank you.
Before we get into questions, I would like to ask the treasurer. So based on $40,000 for the year, we're about halfway through the first semester. So assuming that we do split it equally between the semesters, what does that leave us with for an amount to allocate?
So you're saying, assuming we only spend $20,000 a semester?
Yes.
I would say a rough number, we've spent somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000. So to be on the safe side, I would say assume you have $17,000 to allocate this semester, and then $20,000 to allocate next semester. Keep in mind, this is still money that we are borrowing from ourselves in the future. So we will have to replenish the money that we're spending now out of next year's revenues.
Thank you. And then I see, let's go student by vice president.
I wasn't.
No, oh,
I was
sorry,
the
I'll say. In that case, let's go with the chair of the Community Affairs Council.
So obviously we cut your original
requests by over $7,000. How are you going to make up that so you are able to compete?
Yeah, so we came here last Wednesday. On Monday during our meeting, we basically were working on that and presented to all of our members our plan to basically accommodate this huge budget cut. So we're going to be running a fundraising campaign, hopefully through Toppers, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, to hopefully collect a few $100s throughout the year. We'll be looking for alumni contributions. Hope our goal is around $500. And then our last goal is also to sell some old equipment, of which we could potentially get around $2,000. Still though, of our budget that we're missing, we'll be forced to make some cuts in terms of new equipment, investments we wanted to make. We just unfortunately will not be able to make this year, assuming we even get this.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
We are currently out of time for this speaker. Is there a motion to extend time by 10 minutes? We have a lot of questions. Where was that? Sorry. Yes. Name and position, please.
Sarah Gray, All Scholarship Law Council.
Thank you. And a second from Manisha Biswa. Are there any objections to extending the speaker's time by 10 minutes? Hearing none, it's extended. Follow-up question from the chair of the Community Affairs Council.
So if you're unable to get enough money, what happens?
Ultimately, if we don't have enough money, we may not be able to compete.
Fair. Further questions? Yes.
My name is Ayomide Olanrewaju. I'm International Student Senator. Could you please go back a couple of slides where you were kind of talking about the breakdown from funding from other departments or like other sources of funding you guys have generated? Okay, so when you say departmental funding, I'm curious, how much have you gotten from the Department of Aerospace itself?
Yes. So this number right here is specifically from aerospace.
Okay, how many have you gotten from every other School of Engineering department? Because if I remember correctly from FAC funding, when I was president of NESB, I would go around and I would request money from every single department. Are you only showing us how much you've gotten from the AE department, or have you gotten any money from any other department?
Yeah, so we have only requested money from the aerospace department because that is our primary purpose. If we were like a cross-discipline engineering club, we would probably go to a lot of different departments. And we actually have brought up of requesting the mechanical engineering department. It's just, we don't really think that they will be very willing to contribute funding to our club just because historically they haven't. So just randomly showing up and being like, hey, can we have money from you? Because we don't have that partnership.
Just to follow up to that, you did mention that you guys have a bunch of students from different majors in your club currently. So do you not think that other engineering students are represented in your organization that would give you guys the boldness to go to this other department?
Yeah. So that basically diversity of engineering students and other majors is something that we have and we're also actively working on. So it's more of a goal. So I would say before we can go to the departments asking for money, we have to prove that track record, and we're working on it through outreach to other engineering majors. It's just something that might have to be carried out going further down the line once we have that proven track record over the years of attracting people from different majors.
We have a point of information from the student body vice president. Again, question, follow-up.
I was just gonna kind of talk about that a little bit. So I'm aware that this year for the FAC funding, the process was a little bit different as far as the departmental matches go. And so the departments had asked for specific lists of representation of students, like cross-disciplinary, depending on which department you're affiliated with. And so it was up to the discretion of the department heads to decide how much was allocated for each student organization. And since JAD is affiliated with aerospace, their primary source of funding would have been from the aerospace department.
And then I'm seeing a question from the vice chair of Rights and Affairs.
Ready?
We very nearly didn't have something fall down. Go ahead.
Two-part question. Does your organization require membership fees, and or do you think that would alleviate potential, or would it create a new avenue of funding if you required your members to pay?
Yes. So We do not have direct membership fees for the club. However, to be part of the roster, so to be able to attend the competition and get recognition for your work, you do have to pay an AIAA, which is the professional society that hosts this competition. You have to pay like a $40 annual fee. And we don't really want to implement member fees because the amount of time that people in Jayhawk Air Design are contributing to this is already so high. People are spending hundreds of hours throughout the school year working on this for no payment. They could be working a job during that time just for the experience and personal fulfillment of helping design the aircraft. So adding fees on top of that would be something that would strongly discourage involvement, which is something we want. And also adding on top of that, like due to the scale of funding that we are requesting, if we have like 40 active members, say we requested $50, that's $2,000. Like in the grand scheme of things, for our $45,000 budget, that's pretty small, like 5%. So.
I had a quick point of information on that. In order to receive funding from Student Senate, you are not allowed to collect fees. So they wouldn't be able to request fees and then also get funding here.
That's correct. Question from the community affairs director. Please throw up the catch box.
All right, so my question is that have you guys considered reaching out to alumni and also consider reaching out to reaching out to like local businesses or like support engineers?
Yes. So we this year we have a corporate outreach share. As highlighted a little bit before, we will be reaching out to alumni to try to collect money for the deficit that we currently are experiencing. And then we do have a corporate outreach share that actually has been provided a list of local businesses by our previous chief engineer and our department head. So she is actively reaching out to all those businesses to try to maybe get free food. So we can allocate a little bit of our meeting food budget to like engineering efforts.
Hold on. We have you. Just throw it back, please.
Who is you?
The person in the middle row. Sorry.
I am Midola Ariwaji, International Student Senator. So you guys said that first of all, I have two questions. You listed that you want to spend money or you want Student Senate to provide money for some required materials like servos and other skins and composite materials as well. For the servos especially, I am currently taking classes. Don't you feel like these are items that you can get from the engineering, like aerospace engineering department or any other department in engineering?
Yeah, so we have sometimes previous equipment from previous years, but generally each year this competition, the rules change. So we are encountered with a completely unique design problem. So we're optimizing our aircraft specifically for that competition. And when the rules change every year, the servos and the motors and the electronic equipment we're speccing for this optimized design usually changes year to year. And also there's technological advancements. Motors from 10 years ago are usually, with the rate of technological development, are completely inferior to the technology today. And if we showed a competition with outdated technology, we will basically be underperforming the teams like MIT, Stanford, Caltech that we're looking to outperform.
Okay, my second question, you guys have a corporate sponsor, SNC.
Hold on. We have other people who need to ask questions. Can I get a show of hands who's still asking questions? Can you pass it behind you, please? Name, position.
Joel Adejola, international undergrad. My first question is to the seat up there. Is there priority given to executive team members to speak and ask questions?
You're asking whether preferential recognition is given to the executive officers. No, I just saw the vice president's hand raised first.
Noted. My next question, I'm just going to ask all of them together. First question is, how much is there to be won at this competition?
In terms of financial reward, the top place reward is $3,000.
Okay, so $3,000 for 33,000 or 40,000 investment. Clear. Something throughout this conversational pitch, you framed it as from the budget. that is your budget, not necessarily the Senate's budget. So I'd like you to, from now on, reframe it as from our budgets and not necessarily from the budget, as if Senate has a part to play in your budgeting. So this is a proposal from your proposal. You've cut it from your proposal, not necessarily from the budget. Clear?
Yeah.
The
Um,
treasurer is recognized for a question. Please pass up the catch box.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're just asking the presenters to change how they refer to things, I don't believe that's a question for them.
Thank you. I have all my points cleared.
Fantastic. I believe there's a question later down. First year student senator, correct?
Yes, my name is Jillian Opie. I'm just curious, how many people are on the roster that actually does get to compete?
Yeah. So like in terms of attending the competition.
Yes.
So that depends year to year. Pretty much it switches the competition between Tucson, Arizona and Wichita, Kansas every year. When we're hosting when the competition is in Tucson, Arizona, we're usually carrying around 15 people to the competition. When it's in Wichita, we're bringing around 20,000. And that's just due to the travel budget. If we were bringing our full roster to the competition, that would be eating up our budget. Our budget would be double or maybe 70% more. So Wichita, around 20. That's what we carried or brought last year.
Can I have a follow-up?
Who was that? Sorry. Oh, yes, first year. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So the people actually experiencing this competition, it's only 20 people. And then how many people are actually in the JAD club roughly?
Yeah, so we usually experience a very large number at the beginning, and then exams start picking up, people join other clubs. So we'll start usually 70 to 80, and then it'll kind of plateau with people that are contributing significantly around 40 to 50. But those people are very invested, and even if they're not actually attending the event, seeing the aircraft fly, they're still very involved with the club and
growth next year's.
Yeah, and a lot of those people also are typically freshmen, sophomores that maybe they can't attend the competition their freshman or sophomore year, but they're learning and they're investing time into their development. So when they do reach their junior, senior year, they are able to attend.
Thank you.
Further questions? I see. Oh, sorry. We are just about out of time. So yes, motion from the finance chair.
Motion to amend this bill up to 4,000.
The finance chair has moved to amend the allocation amount of this bill from $2,500 to $4,000. Is there a second? I see a second from the Associate Senator for the Finance Council.
Could we get some more clarification on what would be increased, like specifically which line items?
I think we would.
Sure. Now that it's seconded, we can have the finance chair speak. How much time would you like? You have one, don't you?
That one's not working.
Fair enough. 3 minutes.
Yeah, I would just say I would defer to the Jayhawk Aero Design team to inform us of what areas we could put this extra funding towards. What they do is really important and it's great for the university. It not only recruits people to the School of Engineering, but it's really awesome when KU wins things. And this is a really cool thing that gives our students real world experience that they can take. And I love funding all kinds of clubs, but this is the kind of club that truly deserves Senate funding. They are giving them real world experience and they're working for free to do all this stuff. So that's my piece on it.
Thank you. Sure.
Yes. So just adding on to that, if we were to budget in like an engineering company, the amount of time and effort spent by all of these students on the year, it would probably be hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of time commitment for like an engineer one salary. So $45,000 might seem a lot, but for the amount of engineering effort going into this, it's honestly negligible because nobody's getting paid.
Yeah, motion to vote on the proposed amendment.
Okay, we have a motion from the student body vice president to vote on the amendment. Second from the outreach director. No, hold on. We have an objection from the vice chair of the Community Affairs Council. So as it stands currently, we can continue, everyone, we can continue discussing the amendment. We are not discussing the bill itself. We are discussing whether to raise the bill from $2,500 to $4,000. Now, there has been an objection on the motion to vote. Student Body Vice President, are you withdrawing your motion or are you still asking to end discussion on the amendment?
I'm staying with my original motion.
Okay, in that case, we will get a poll posted. This will be a poll to end discussion and vote on the amendment immediately. So this would be vote on amendments.
My point is actually just
Sorry, say that.
I told you last week. I came presented last week.
Not the amendment itself. End discussion. End discussion on 4K.
How does the whole company give them just $3,000? You know what's kidding me? I told you very soon.
They get so much work done when they talk to each other. Go to just end discussion.
Last week, I'm telling you,
Yeah, I saw it. I saw that the finance voted 14.
I told you this in lovely, happy, whoever is in top of finance, they have some like these people are doing this. Instead of rejecting finance and negotiating with them on the floor there.
The funny thing is that the treasurer literally just said that
I told you,
that the
before
money
we came, before we heard
now
this
is
bill,
not money
before we heard this bill, I told these people that's why he resigned. Like, bro, last week he went to all the committees and passed. Last week he went to all the committees and passed. I knew that was me. He said that was
Everyone, the poll is now posted to the Assembly voting channel. This will be a 1.5-minute vote. To give you all some clarification on where we are parliamentarily, we have the bill itself to allocate money to aerospace. We are considering an amendment to that bill. The bill is $2,500. We're considering amending that to $4,000. And now we have a motion to end discussion. If you vote in favor of ending discussion, we will handle the amendment immediately and then go back to discussing the bill. If you vote against ending discussion, we will continue discussing, raising it to $4,000 instead of keeping it $2,500. And once we're done discussing and voting, then we'll go back to the underlying bill. Does anyone have any questions? By the way, this is a 2/3 threshold. Okay, sounds good. What? 45 minutes left. So we'll do this, and then if we don't get to.
So you were like, is there preference to
You still have.
and I'm like, and then Chris goes preference to the student. No, I'm
Oh, actually, yeah, I would for this bill. That was
Oh, great.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that was okay, yeah. I appreciate it.
Yes, and then part of it.
Yeah, so she reached out to her.
Make an amendment. Okay, thank you. So we are out of time. What are the vote results? 31 in favor, 14 against.
Well, you gotta know that sometimes it just eats me.
That
And also, I'm asking him. Okay.
Christ, it's 31%. Wait, no, sorry, I'm stupid. It's 31 over 45. We don't count the absentee. We don't count those. Nope. It's 66%. Have you deleted? It's 2/3 of the votes cast. Absentee votes don't technically count as votes cast.
Oh, really? I know.
No, they're just recording that they aren't voting. Absentees don't count.
So, essentially,
you can't vote abstain.
essentially, yeah. So the
the main goal is
Okay, 31,
really
14.
to get these numbers first, because this is getting cut no matter what, just because there's such a big deficit. And then
Everyone,
this
everyone, please come to order. The vice chair for the finance council will resume his seat.
Yep.
Okay, on this vote, in favor 31, against 14, abstaining 2. Accordingly, the vote is 31 out of 45 total votes for 68%. The motion passes, and we will proceed to vote on the amendment. Again, oh, sure. Okay, where we are currently, we have voted to end discussion on the amendment, so we will no longer discuss whether to raise the bill from $2,500 to $4,000. We will just do the final vote. This amendment will take a majority vote to pass. So if there's 50% or more in favor, the bill will be raised to $4,000. And then once this vote is done, we will go back to discussing the bill itself, whether to allocate a certain amount of money to Jayhawk Aero Design. Yes, a vote no on the amendment will keep the bill at $2,500. A vote yes will raise the bill to $4,000. This is not passage or failure of the bill. Ready? Sent? Everyone, the poll has now been posted to the Assembly voting channel. This will be a 1.5-minute vote. Thank you. I wonder if I can test the
He's 11. That's awesome.
Okay, the vote is currently very split. We have 45 seconds left. Again, if you have voting rights, please cast a vote. If you don't have access to the voting channel or your Teams just isn't working, come up to the front. We'll record a voice vote for you or add you to the channel. That's fair. Have you voted on this? Sweet, okay. That's fair, that's fair. Okay, 10 minutes, 10 seconds left. 23 opposed, 19 in favor. Motion. It's not going up, sorry. It's still, all right, over. Yeah, please get the results. That's right. Order, please. Order. Okay. The poll for the amendment is now closed. We have the results. In favor, 19. Opposed, 23. Abstaining, 1. Accordingly, the motion to amend the bill fails. The bill will remain at $2,500. Now, since we're back at the bill is remaining the same as it was presented. The speaker's time had expired. So we can have a motion to extend speaker's time to continue asking questions. We can go into negative and positive speeches, or we can vote. I'm seeing a lot of hands. I did hear a motion to vote. Who was saying that? Douglas, the community senator for the Black Student Union, and a second from Sophie Tarian. Graduate student senator? Yes. Okay. Motion to vote takes precedence. So we have the motion and the second. Do we have any objections to proceeding? An objection from the vice chair for the Community Affairs Council. So, everyone. Okay. Everyone, please. Okay, we're going to do the exact same thing again. So, we are now considering the bill itself, whether to allocate money to Jayhawk Aero Design. We had a motion to vote. There is an objection, so we will vote on ending discussion. A vote in favor of ending discussion will mean that we take the final vote on the bill, whether to pass or fail it. A vote no on ending discussion will mean that we continue discussing it in the form of speeches or additional questions for the presenters. We are getting that poll posted shortly. If there are any questions, I can answer them at this time. Parliamentary questions. Do you have one? One. There is one item of legislation after this, yes. Yes. The poll is now posted. The poll is now posted to the Assembly voting channel. This will be a 1.5-minute vote. If you can vote, please cast a vote and quickly. It is currently 9:07 p.m. We will need to end the meeting at about 9:45 to allow the unions time to clean up after us. The building closes at 10. I'll try and do as much. But if we reach 9:45, it won't have to be postponed. It is a resolution meeting, so it's not like you're not getting funding. You will just have to present it. Yep, it will be 2 weeks from now. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Do you know how to log into your Why can't anyone tell me how to do this? I thought using Kansas retirement plan.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, it is.
I used to work at Kansas.
During
My mom has a summer house.
somebody
It was so out of nowhere. Like we're talking about like, oh, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with the money? Hey, I think we should use them out.
Order! Order! The poll is now closed. On the order, please. On the motion to end discussion of this legislation, in favor 27, opposed 12, abstaining 1. Accordingly, 2/3 being in favor of ending discussion, we will no longer discuss this legislation and we will immediately move to the final vote on passage. We will have this poll. Okay. We will have this poll posted to the Assembly voting channel momentarily. My cadence. The poll is now posted to the Assembly voting channel. This will be a 1.5-minute vote. Again, if you can vote, please do so. Okay.
Okay.
If it's turned down, then you can submit another bill.
Okay. Like, yeah, it would be certainly. Yeah.
I understand. I'm just setting my counsel that I trust my counsel.
Yeah, I want to highlight.
And she was being rude to me. Or like, one time where I didn't call on my Sounds like, all right then.
Go back to
Democracy is happening, and it's good. I closed it. Everyone, back to order. Thank you. Okay, the poll is now closed. For Bill 2025-021 passage, in favor 26, opposed 14, abstaining 1. Accordingly, more than the majority being in favor of passage, Bill 2025-021 passes. Thank you very much to our presenters from Jayhawk Aero Design. We will now, oh, you're good.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
We will now move to the last item of regular legislation. Everyone, please, order. We will now move to the last item of regular legislation. Resolution 2025-303, a resolution for a Green New Deal for the University of Kansas. This legislation will be presented by the members of Sunrise Movement KU. Please give respect for our presenters by not talking during the presentation.
Hello, we're here to start to close out your night. You're welcome. So, we three are with the Sunrise Movement KU. I'm the treasurer, Jack Shaw. That's Vice President Gene Lopez and President Grant Mason. So we are with the Sunrise Movement, and if you're not familiar, the Sunrise Movement is the American Youth Environmental Justice Movement. Our platform has various components like environmental initiatives like banning fracking, voter engagement initiatives, but the cornerstone, the keystone platform is the Green New Deal. And that's what we're trying to introduce here in the form of a resolution to you all today. So, we're in the midst of a climate crisis, and it's all around us. We're feeling its effects. Once-in-a-lifetime weather events happening every few weeks, like the hurricane currently building over the Pacific. Floridians weren't so lucky. The Ogallala Aquifer is drying up. Turns out 100% of Douglas County is currently considered to be in drought conditions, which hurts agriculture, kind of the primary staple of our state. And it's still about 80 degrees, and it's almost November. That's not a coincidence. This climate crisis also isn't far off. It's happening now. And so action, therefore, needs to come now. And it's, let's be clear, anthropogenic. We caused it. But that also means we can take action to stop it. And we think KU needs to act. We're a Research One university. We are the flagship university of Kansas. We are the largest landowner in the state of Kansas. And also other universities like the University of California system and the American University have their own Green New Deals. This is a trend that we can become a part of. Listen, KU's also not done much for sustainability in recent years. We axed the Center for Sustainability. What was once 4 full-time positions is now a part-time position. Someone doing diligent work, but not with nearly enough resources to truly bring together sustainability at KU with what it needs to look like. And in case you didn't know, the city of Lawrence actually has something fairly similar to this. There are 5 points of sustainability. This is our opportunity to join with our community. And not to mention the 2024 master plan centering on sustainability. So this would align us with university's stated goals. Now, a little bit about the resolution itself. Hey, look, it's me, not Student Senate. This resolution is broad by design. It's meant to be a substantial first step. It is not a timeline of binding action items. Rather, it is a path forward. It's a set of commitments and ideas and positions. And to be clear, it's a resolution. So there's no mandated funding. I know. It's also an opportunity to kickstart and then support Student Senate-led sustainability initiatives, such as the courtyard at the Weber Courtyard at Spooner Hall. And we can also follow up on many of these action items materially and enact them when we can. And also, hopefully, it's the inspiration for action items to be taken up in the future by you, the senators. And also, let's be clear about what the Green New Deal is, because this isn't just climate legislation. It is more than that. It's about climate justice. And climate justice is connected with other forms of justice: social justice, racial justice, economic justice, disability justice, which is why there are portions in the resolution that make recommendations for things like accessibility on campus and employment. And so the climate transition needs to include everyone, and that requires solidarity. Sustainability means sustainability for everyone. And so let's get a little bit into the types of parts of the Green New Deal. So the first part is the affirmations and recognitions, such as affirming the need that Student Senate has already approved to meet campus bus needs through the student fee and recognizing the lack of accessible, nutritious food on campus. It also calls for university action, things Student Senate can't directly change, like recommending grounds converting low-use green space, so lawns, into places for native plants, like the 560 Student Senate has already helped plant this year. It also makes contingent recommendations, such as building new buildings to LEED certified standards and hopefully free of mold. I should know, I wrote the piece that was referenced earlier. And it also contacts campus administrators. And I think that's worth noting in and of itself, because if nothing else, it signals to them that Student Senate is orienting itself in favor of sustainability on campus. So we can do something here and now about the climate crisis. That action starts here. And so we hope you'll consider voting for this resolution. I say today, but really tonight. Thank you.
We currently have about 5.5 minutes on the clock for speaker's time. Do we have questions for the speaker? Motion to vote. Okay, is there a second? Yes, second from the Associate Senator for the Finance Council. Is there an objection to ending discussion now and proceeding to vote? I hear no objection. Okay, we'll get the poll posted. Please keep an eye out for the poll on this resolution, which will be posted to the voting channel. As a resolution, this will take a majority vote to be passed.
Last April, I
Last
want to say?
spring,
Last
during
spring.
the big event.
Yeah.
The spring of the previous year planning.
Mm-hmm.
Planning. Working with Emily Ryan foremost and making original contacts with I'm not sure which Native Indigenous organization, but one of the first ones that started in that year.
Actually, last spring, I remember we power wash benches, and I think the student body president was a part of that.
Vice president.
Student body president was part of it. didn't he?
Current president.
Current student body president. That's right, at the time, vice president. See that again?
We were not the ones that requested. That was
Yep.
an engineering group.
The poll is now posted to the Assembly voting channel. This will be a 1.5-minute vote. Please fill out the poll quickly and completely.
Well, I mean, technically, we're all just hub leaders.
We are required to have titles by
by
Rock Central,
Rock Central. Those are the titles, but we're all just hub leaders.
which is why our email signs off hub leaders, because all three of us are equal leadership members.
Yeah.
She looks familiar, but I can't.
Yeah.
I was last year. Janine is now. I'm still the impact director for the CCO. One program, Earth.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, turns out we didn't need 10. I won't complain. I'll take that as a good sign.
Discuss your resolution. It was very detailed.
I'm
not-
We've been here for 2.5
People
hours.
have
so I don't really
confidence in it. When you try to do is check
What is this part?
Just that.
Yeah, you know that. Oh, that's
It's fine. It's fine.
Let's just ask how.
Is it closed? Everyone, the poll on resolution 2025-303 is now closed. The results on the vote on passage: in favor 35, opposed 0, abstain 2. A Accordingly, the resolution is passed unanimously. Thank you very much to the leadership of Sunrise KU for presenting to us tonight. Now, remaining on our agenda, we have completed all regular legislation. Are there any announcements for us to consider? Yes, announcement from the Student Body Vice President.
First of all, if you haven't done so already, and also please consider signing up for the leadership expression session that I was talking about in 5 minutes. We really could use more representation from the University of Kansas, and you are all phenomenal leaders, so please be a part of that if you have the time to do so.
Further announcements? You can talk about it after the meeting. Thank you. Further announcements? Treasurer.
Any questions or anything you want to talk to me about? As last week, I will wait outside of this room for a little while to come talk to me or ask me.
Is there anything further to be brought before the Students' Assembly tonight? Is there a second? Motion from the Student Body Vice President, second from the Vice Chair for the Community Affairs Council. Is there an objection to adjourning? Hearing none, we are done. I will see you all next week. Bye. Saturday at 2.
Saturday at 2?
No, not this Saturday, next Saturday. It's based on the 1-2.
Saturday,
Next Saturday, 2 p.m.
November 2nd.
Except 4 out of the 5 were available.
Should work. I have to confirm. I have a mandatory service class. I've never hit anyone or anything. So, some of our advisors today and now I mean, we have 2 classes together, so yeah, I see you on. So I'll have more information, but yeah, we do. I'll see you tomorrow, actually. I'll see you in class tomorrow. Oh, me too. Tomorrow, and they'll look at us.
I'll ask
Robert.
Yeah, I'm just like, but I am him.
Okay, I'll be honest. I told you.
I would call Evan Winton.
Really?
You guys know Evan that well.
I did. I just think that you're not gonna find anyone else who's gonna write 2 paragraphs about the fall weather. Finance. Finance. By the way,
He's got a lot of thoughts to share, but in a less whimsical way than Evan does.
Okay.
Anyway, but I'll try to figure things out. And
Yeah, because this is the biggest thing that's taking my head right now. Is you've got the 180K number that was thrown around. How does that relate to it?
So, the way that number works is that is only an issue if because 80,000 of that is what we allocate. So technically it's 140 now, but I have the 140. The other 100,000 only happens if everything from Block and Line take their full allocation, which has never historically happened.
Well, but also, what about, is that factoring in the new enrollment?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they don't take their full allocations,
I took
then we are better off.
But they also want us to restore the required. It's not required now.
Well, so they're allowing us to operate in deficit.
Yeah, I mean, I have this.
So.
How do I turn this fucker off?
Me too. But,
These mics stay at the front. I'm going to return these to the office. Oh, by the way, I told Danae and Ivana about you.
Don't do that. You don't want to sit down. You could be the new Kevin. Get it back. Get it back. Bring up Kevin. But it's all your fault. Well, now
No, wait,
the treasurer is
Okay.
naturally.
You're like double pointed.
Naturally, now there's no treasurer, they have to blame you. Yeah.